This New Orleans Saints team preview edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is giving away $15 million at Best Ball Mania 5. Sign up with promo code SGPN to claim your first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm's college football and NFL picks and projections are now live. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and you're listening to SGPN. Let her run and get her done.
Cox.
He's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, second the money green with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
Dog.
People get so mad at my pronunciation of Louisville. They're gonna hate my Nolans accent.
We are here talking New Orleans Saints.
It was a sign, Sean. I have this weird thing happening with my television at home where it turns on and it glitches off the Apple TV to some like local Samsung TV channel. Waterboy was on this morning.
Waterboy on local LA.
8 in the morning. No, it was some weird channel, but either way, I was like, oh, this is a sign.
I think I have a Bobby Boucher Waterboy jersey
somewhere in here.
I got to dig that up. That thing was awesome. Shout out to Lawrence Taylor, one of America's great actors. Very. Anytime Lawrence Taylor is in a movie, I feel like I end up liking that movie.
It's called charisma. Some guys just had it. I mean, there's been some athletes over the years that might not be the best guys off the field. Insane charisma. I mean, just think back to Mickey Mantle.
You're saying LT wasn't a great guy off the field?
Mickey Mantle is revered as one of the greatest baseball players ever, and he tells this great story about how he one game he was just not playing, getting a blowjob in the bleachers. I mean.
Well, that was when the Yankees were doing a story. It was like some anniversary, and
I'm just saying him like Michael.
They asked him for his greatest moment from Yankee Stadium, and he wrote back with that. So
again, some of our greatest athletes maybe were better to have lived in the non-internet era,
non-social media. Everyone up in their business. Shout out to Trevor in the chat. We're so close to football season. I'm bricked up. I agree, Trevor. I'm also bricked up.
That is that like potentially blocked up? Maybe you need too much cheese. Ate the whole pie by yourself.
It's the other end of the spectrum, right? He's excited.
I've learned cheeks and now bricked up. All right.
You didn't know bricked up?
Didn't know brick. I mean,
you're a square, Ryan. You're a square.
I guess so.
Now, when it comes to betting, though,
I'm also an old guy.
32 NFL team previews, and of course, 32 NFL team previews, 32 words as part of the phrase that pays. The New Orleans Saints team preview word is course. Course is the word for the New Orleans Saints team preview. So add that to your list. Shout out to everyone keeping a list, getting ready to cash in on that $500 NFL Circa future. One lucky winner who submits the entire 32 team phrase. We're rewarding the people putting in the work in the off season, right? Preseason's all about putting in the off season work, 2-a-days, 3-a-days. We've been loading up. If you're watching on YouTube, we've been putting out 2-3 a day there because we're going to be out in Bet Bash. If you are going to be out in Bet Bash, come say hi. We're doing a live podcast over at the Circa Thursday afternoon, 3:00. That should be fun.
Yeah. Or you're waiting for me to offer up my handshake. I see.
Oh yes, Ryan, in-person handshake to anyone who comes says hi. And
if you're nice, maybe a hug.
Saints coming off a 9-8 season, straight up 6-10-1 ATS. That's probably why I hate this New Orleans Saints team. They could not cover a spread to save their life. Their win total was 9.5. They went under. You and I both predicted they would go under. So add that to our 2023 record. I'm 11-5 on the 16 team previews we've done. 10-6 to you, Kramer. So
no leans either. We haven't gotten a single lean from last year.
Tower of Pisa. But we do have an interesting tower here with the New Orleans Saints coming off a year where even though they were 9-8 and went under their win total, I think I'm going to be pretty out on this team. Dennis Allen, Ryan. Guess how many times his team has covered their win total, has gone over their win total in his 5 seasons as a full NFL head coach.
It's crazy. He's had 5 seasons.
Yes.
1.
0-5.
Oh wow.
0-5, which to me in some ways that's is probably the only reason to hop on the Saints over. And we will be joined by Farley Betts, aka Chris Farley, here in a little bit. I'm interested to see if he can make a compelling case for the Saints over. But I mean, Dennis Allen, I feel like Dennis Allen, Derek Carr, we know what we got. Dennis Allen, 24 and 46 straight up. Derek Carr, 72 and 87. Saints were 1-5 against teams that made the playoffs. They did eke out that 9-8, but Derek Carr is who we thought he was, and they had a massive turnover differential. They were plus 11 on the turnover differential.
That's good.
Still only got 9 wins. Well, it's good if you're going to fade them the next year. Their offensive line, to me, biggest red flag. 29th ranked according to PFF. Ryan Ramczyk doesn't look like he's going to be going this year. So now they're going to have to move their right tackle to their left tackle, and then the kid they drafted, they're going to have to start him at right tackle. So I think just starting there. I mean, the Saints were the classic team where they kept kicking the can down the line with their free agency money. And I haven't even gotten to the fact that it does seem like Derek Carr's teammates don't like him. So where's the optimism for the Saints, Ryan?
Well, I think there's a couple areas to be optimistic. You're right to point out that it seems like every year they squeeze as much as they can death taxes, and the Saints are in the top 10 in dead money every year. We're dealing with this now for, it feels like, the better part of even the end of the Sean Payton era.
Yeah,
they were trying to compete every year. What has changed? They're trying to compete again. And the one argument I'm going to have a hard time defending is the Derek Carr piece.
Yes.
If I'm being completely honest.
Yes.
But what I would say is it's unfair for you to forget how much of a clusterfuck this offense has been, how much they had to bring John Gruden in to help install it because their offensive coordinator couldn't do it. They were trying to replicate what Sean Payton left behind, as if like he left these secret notes throughout the building, and Nicolas Cage was helping him discover it. By all accounts, Mr. Carmichael was like a substitute teacher who had to do a full year because the teacher was out, and it went horribly wrong. It was very public. And so I would make the macro argument, forget. And by the way, that offensive lineman they drafted, we really liked him. We really think he could be a line changing type of guy. And oh, by the way, they're bringing in, one of these Kubiak Shanahan types, Mr. Clint, to run the offense. So it will be different for the first time for the Saints in a very long time. And do I think that a guy like Derek Carr could have success like Jimmy G in this type of system? Yeah, absolutely. Matt Schaub, like, you want to go down the list of guys who have had success in a Shanahan Kubiak system?
Kubiak.
Again, his last name rhymes with Kubiak, so I'm gonna use the angle. But yeah, I mean, I think also,
no, that's a good point about the offense. But again, the turnover differential, the offensive line,
regression points are fair
issues, and
let's bring up the players.
The combination of Derek Carr, Dennis Allen is tough for me to get behind.
Yeah, let's bring up the players, and because I think I think the area it's fair to critique their skill positions.
Yeah, and I did like their draft. I did like Kool-Aid McKinstry.
You liked everything about the draft, and even
you take a shot on Spencer Rattler. But again, I think some of those, I don't know how many of those guys are going to impact you right away. And I also think Dennis Allen, if he isn't, he definitely should be on the hot seat. We'll get to their schedule, but if they get off to a slow start, I think him to be first coach fired is definitely going to be in the mix.
We've talked about a couple of these teams.
Yeah.
Wide range of outcomes. Because I agree with you. I think the floor is tremendously low because at some point this team is going to bottom out.
To me, the ceiling is 9 games. And that's why, I have trouble making a compelling case for their win total, but we'll walk through it. I mean, Ryan, of the additions, the guys in the draft.
Well, Kellen Mond coming to the team, and I would say I'm a little worried about losing Jameis Winston. Let's just start there. Forget about anything else. What do we got a mistake? Forget about anything else. But a leader like Jameis Winston in the locker room, that worries me. Him walking out the door.
Well, and Spencer Rattler is a fun project, but you drop him into this offense. I don't know, man. I was looking at the additions. The Chase Young news completely was off my radar. I didn't realize they had signed him.
I mean, I think again, I would predict that this defense is solid, if not pretty good. And I think it's completely fair to give them.
Yeah, I mean, defensive DVOA last year 15. It would be tough to predict them cracking the top 10 or going into the bottom 10.
Feels like they're going to be right there again. And so the offense, with all of what I described, was still middle of the pack in terms of DVOA, more efficiency. If they're able to take any sort of step forward, maybe introducing more motion into an offense or doing modern things in general, things that the Kubiak Shanahan system like to take advantage of, edges, I don't see, other than, obviously I'm giving a little bit of a blind eye to some of the regression stuff, the injury stuff, the turnover stuff, but I think there is a case to be made as to why this team could maybe regress, positively regress a little bit on the field, allowing for the fumble luck, the injury luck to kind of meet in the middle, and maybe we're back to where we were last year. I also think this team could end up being pretty good.
The pretty good aspect of this is not.
It's because their division sucks, and part of them lucking into being, average to pretty good could be the difference of 5-1 in the division. And so that's the other element. As much as I like the Bucks, I have no confidence in the other teams. Yeah. And even the Bucks, it's like, if things could take a turn south with the fragility of that top end of the roster. So yeah, there's my take on the Saints.
Yeah. I mean,
they are still top 10 in dead money. If you were wondering.
To me, the O-line and then the Derek Carr, Dennis Allen combo is the stuff where I'm struggling to find optimism. But Ryan, we're going to be joined by guests here. Before we do that, of course, shout out to Underdog Fantasy. Love some Underdog Fantasy. I was just firing on some season long that lower JJ McCarthy passing touchdowns of 18.5. Pair that with Daniel Jones, lower passing touchdowns, and I'm feeling pretty good. Again, go over to underdogfantasy.com, promo code SGPN. They're dropping some new week 1 pick'em specials. They are use it or lose it discounts. The discounts and promos are pretty sweet. I mean, they give you some nice numbers. You're not able to bet as much normally, but the discounts are pretty awesome. And again, you get that deposit match up to $250 in bonus cash when you use our promo code SGPN. Underdogfantasy.com, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Circa Sports. We're going to be out at the beautiful Circa. It's just an awesome time, awesome place. The Circa Millions. We will be joined, Chris Farley, Circa Millions winner. Ryan, I'm so jealous of his profile photo. It is him holding a giant check.
He's got a big check. Come
with
on,
Derek. I mean, that is the American dream.
We got to ask him if he took chips.
In America, we love the idea of winning a giant check because ball, football, and you got a chance to prove it in the Circa Millions, Circa Survivor, 16 million guaranteed, 0 rake because Derek is a gentleman. Come out and say hi. Sign up for the contest August 22nd through the 24th. Use our promo code SGP15. Get you 15% off your hotel stay. And again, proxy.footballcontest.com, promo code SGP. Shout out to Vegas Maddie. Get you hooked up with a nice deal on your proxies, promo code SGP. Get all the info over at circusports.com. Joining us on the line, AKA Farley Bets, Chris Farley. What's happening, Chris? Thanks for copping on, man.
What's going on, boys? Appreciate that intro about that big check. That feels forever ago now.
Yeah.
Look at this. She is.
The 2021 NFL season, 2022 Circa Millions 3.
It's beautiful.
And you're sitting there holding a check for $114,000. We were talking, and I think you use the same proxy that we do. Vegas Maddie, shout out to him. We were talking to Vegas Maddie about the actual logistics of a giant check. Now, I know you're an East Coast guy. You also are a Giants fan. I'm sure we'll get to that. But you win this giant check. You're out in Vegas. Derek gives you a giant check. Do you fly the check home? Do you ship it home? How do you get your giant check back? Do you just say screw it and leave it in Vegas? What do you do with the giant check?
I feel like you have some kind of insider information just asking that question, because famously, my buddy and I, who won the contest together, Eagles fan, by the way. So the marriage that I'm seeing right here in front of me is really impressive. It's really impressive. But yeah, we brought it all the way to the airport. We were willing to take it on the plane with us in a very awkward manner, but I think it cost like, I don't know, I think it was like $150 or $200 just to put on the plane. And last second, after all the, the T-bone steaks and everything we got at Circa, we were like, nah. And that's a decision that I still regret, boys. I mean, I would love to have that cash or that check at home. I got the cash. I would love to have the check at home.
No, I mean, because again, the logistics. Ryan, you have a. I mean, I have a Jeep, and maybe I'll have to get one of those surfboard racks that we can put it on the roof and drive it back from Vegas. It is a good problem to have, and shout out to you for going on a heater there. Yeah. What I think you said your final record 62, 28 and something, or what place did you come in to get 114,000 in the millions?
So yeah, 61, 28 and 1. And I only remember that because you asked me recently, which is just like, I think it's 67%, something like that. Yeah. There were certainly numerous times throughout the season, even in the final week. I remember we had Cleveland on our card, and they let us down for like no reason. It was an easy game for them to win. The other team was sending a bunch of guys, but the Bills out of nowhere scored like a touchdown at the end against the Jets. Didn't have to score that touchdown. They covered. We finished 4-1, and 4-1 finish between like 3 and 2 was, probably like a $50,000 difference. Right. So at the very end, it gets really tight, and you definitely need a little luck, but I would say, just stick to your processes, boys and girls out there. Just have a process, stick to it. Don't overanalyze, and we all got a shot.
Enjoy the sweat too. That's important.
No, I mean, again, and the quarterly prizes are legit. I did one last year with my high school buddies, and I think we got off to a really good start in that first quarter, and I think we were maybe 13-2 or something going into the last leg of the first quarter, and like a 5-0, we would have cashed pretty nice.
I think producer Josh
we went like 2-3. Yeah, producer Josh, he was in like the quarter standings a couple of times, like where they tweet out the top 10. I just saw his message. He said he missed by a half point. So again, if you're like us, you're paying for a chance to win, but also just the sweat, the experience of it, especially in the Survivor. If you can kind of get down to that where you have a conversation about maybe chopping it up, that really is the dream. Now, Chris, bringing you on, of course, enjoy your work. We do a Bet US NBA show together. I've seen you a bunch on VSiN, all over the handicapping streets. Brought you on because we already did our Giants episode. We're like, well, we got to get them on for another episode. What is a team? I asked you, I'm like, what are some teams you have some strong takes on? And the Saints were on that list. Let's start big picture, and then we'll hop into the schedule. But where are you at coming into the season with the Saints?
Yeah, looking back, I'm not sure why I answered Saints, because it's like if the NFC East, is like a basic math test, I feel like the Saints are like physics. There's a lot going on with this team that's really tough to figure out. High level, I'm going to answer your guys' question early. I cannot get on board with the over in their win total. We can get to some other bets that I'm looking at, but it does come down to the Dennis Allen and the Derek Carr thing for me a little bit, because I just don't believe in Dennis Allen as a head coach. Really, he hasn't really proven much. I mean, good defensive mind, but I don't think in terms of leadership or even a guy that anyone likes. Like I don't see the influence there on the sideline. I don't see good marriages going on. That being said, you talked about Kirk already. I'm sorry, not Kirk. There's a lot of K's in these names. Clint Kubiak. Hopefully the middle name isn't a K as well. But Clint Kubiak. Yeah, that'd be too much. Clint Kubiak, though, comes from a good background. I do think that's what they needed most, right? They needed a change in their offense. Pete Carmichael, he was there for like a decade, wasn't he? He was there for a long time. So they needed a change. But there's a lot of things they have to fix, guys. 3.6 yards per rush last year. Just disappointing finishes. We could talk about Derek Carr all day long here, but as far as Derek Carr goes, when you go back and watch film, the guy is a definition, just like this team, kind of an average team. You know, like Derek Carr, he has the arm talent, he has the passing ability, but good Lord, does he make some stupid mistakes at some really bad times in some of these games. And it's almost always in like a big game situation. So I don't know if I can trust this guy. Like, I don't know if he's the sharpest quarterback in the room, but the physical ability is there. So maybe if you pair him with an offensive coordinator who's young, who's innovative, going to make a faster pace offense, which is what they're talking about. Maybe it will kind of help him with his processing on the field. But and there's a lot to talk about with their defense. We can get into all these things, but I think it's ultimately a team that will disappoint win total wise. But maybe if you wait a few weeks, it's a different scenario. We could talk about that.
Yeah, we talk about maybe buying the dip and hopping in, and
yeah.
I do think Kramer made a good point. Like, if this is going to work, it's because of what Clint Kubiak can do with that offense. But again, Dennis Allen, to me, I feel like after the end of the season, we're going to be like, yeah, Dennis Allen, more of a coordinator than a head coach, which is not someone I'm looking to back win total wise.
Yeah, but there is a strange floor.
Yeah.
And there are these components of like, yeah, the schedule was super easy last year. Well, the schedule's kind of easy this year too. I don't know. I just think, and to the point about the run game, like that is the one thing I'm fairly confident that we're going to see, whether it be with the player additions or the new scheme. It does seem like running the ball should get better, and so maybe that helps. You didn't even bring up the deficiencies at the receiver position. We'll see if they make a late signing or something.
Yeah, I mean, who's Rashid Shaheed?
Yeah,
which
Shaheed.
I think he's an interesting, guy. First touchdown, take some deep shots, but like, who is going to be their go-to receiver in this offense?
Juwan Johnson and Taysom Hill.
No, I mean,
but think about it. What is, again? Let's go back to what the offense might look like. A lot of, maybe there's some H backs in motion,
a lot of checkdowns to Alvin Kamara, getting the easy stuff. But again, and Olave, I mean, Olave has been, I think, pretty
Jamal
good.
Williams is on this team. We love the energy he brings.
Yeah.
I know he's been kind of trash. Kendre Miller can't seem to get out of the doghouse.
that was weird because he seemingly like has a ton of talent, but all the camp reports about Kendre Miller have been bad. And him popping his head up and making some noise here. But Ryan, let's take a look at what their current odds are, and then we'll hop into the schedule. Right now, win total sitting at 7.5, so it is a low number. Make playoff, same as the Bucks though. Make playoffs plus 184, miss playoffs minus 230, plus 380 to win the division, 40-1 to win the conference, and then 100-1 to win it all, to win the Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, Ryan, what do you want to just
handicap? Yeah, let's hop into the schedule.
Let's hop in the schedule.
The simple handicap you have to start by, like, are you a NFC South is really going to get 2 teams in the playoffs, or are you a 1 team in the playoffs? Because that informs, how you play the positive case. None of these teams in the South have an interesting make playoffs price for me. And,
yeah, because I think they realize the division's a bit of a crapshoot.
And I think without knowing how many wins I'm going to give them here, I do feel like I'm going to be right on the number. All right, let's look at it. We break it up into quadrants. So 4 games at a time, except for that 5th quadrant, or the 4th quadrant that has that 5th game. All right, week 1. And again, I do think there's a buy the dip kind of case you can make for the Saints outside of the first game against the Panthers. Then you have at Cowboys, Eagles at home, at Falcons. I'm gonna apply a similar plan to the Saints as I have for the other South teams. They're gonna go split the division with the other teams, not name the Panthers, and sweep the Panthers. So this is a clear 1-3 to me.
Yeah, Chris, what do you have? Well, also as a guy, I'm sure you're probably gonna play some Survivor as well. I think you tweeted out some of your Survivor thoughts week 1. I know, and someone hit me up. They're like, I like Saints versus the Panthers. Now I'm super out on the Panthers, but I don't know, division games, especially week 1. I kind of hesitate from a Survivor role. Who are you looking at week 1 Survivor?
No, man. Honestly, Saints are up there for me because besides the Bengals, I don't think there's a clear pick. I really don't. I mean, I think there's a lot of parity in the NFL this season, as much as we had last year. And look at their schedule. I mean, it's not hard per se, but how many games do you really trust the Saints. You know, I mean,
That's the
they're
other thing. If you're not going to play the Saints against the Panthers at home,
right.
when else are you going to be firing on the Saints? So yeah, I mean, certainly it'll be interesting. I do think this Saints Panthers will catch some. Obviously, I think Cincinnati will be the number one. Although I think, you know, Buffalo at home against Arizona, people will talk themselves into that one. But yeah, I mean, the division aspect is the only thing scaring me off against hammering.
Panthers snuck up on them last year, week 2.
Yeah,
but Saints still got the win.
I mean, the Panthers just really look rough. Xavier Legette is banged up, but I'm with you, Ryan. I think 1-3. I mean, yeah,
maybe the Eagles trip up down there, but
no. What are you talking about? We're gonna destroy them. So 1-3 for me on the first 4. Kramer 1-3. Chris, what do you think of this first 4 game block?
Well, can I mention a bet, or is this too early?
Oh no, go for it.
Never too early.
We don't, Ryan, bleep this out. We don't want people giving out bets on the Sports Gambling Podcast.
Only.
Fire when ready.
Yeah, go.
Well, you know, I had to make sure, because I've been listening to a lot of your team previously. I know we have a big section at the end, but
yeah.
I mean, these first 5 games in particular, obviously, like there are sports books out there who, you know, how many wins in the first 5 weeks, right? And I think it's very possible we could plus money. I think it's something like plus 225 on the Saints to only win 1 game. I mean, sign me up for that. You know, they're probably going to win week 1, but they're not going to go to Dallas and beat Dallas. They're probably not going to beat the Eagles, Sean. I mean, I would love that personally, but it's probably not going to happen. You know, at Atlanta, when Atlanta's probably starting to figure some things out, right? They're underdogs there, and then forget it about the Chiefs. So you can do exact wins 1 in the first 5 weeks, but
ooh, I like that market.
Yeah, but but this is also part of my bet later, because I think you jump on this train after week 5, right? Because you're probably going to get 5.5, 6.5, probably 6.5 on the Saints for the rest of the season. It's not like odds makers don't know their schedule gets easier. But looking at this team last year, and the reason why they're kind of the definition of average is they straight up, like, they beat the teams that aren't very good, and they lost against the teams that are above average. And I think we're going to see a lot of that from the Saints again this season. And you do have more below average teams in the back half of that schedule, the back 3/4, I should say. So I think you just get a much better number at that point.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things. They were 1-5 against teams that made the playoffs, and they still got to 9-8 because they beat up, especially like once it was clear they weren't going to make the playoffs. Then Derek Carr got on a heater, and they get some, kind of garbage time wins there to close it out. So Chris, first 4 games, 1-3, it sounds like I got for you.
1-3 for sure. Yep.
All right, Kramer, next up, we start at the Chiefs.
So it is an interesting angle. The 1 win, because it does seem very clear, especially if you just want to grade them as like the games they should win and the games they shouldn't win. You can they're favored 7 times. So the win total 7.5, pretty fair. All right. Yeah. Next 4, as we were just discussing, at Chiefs, this is kind of the end of the tough part of the schedule on Monday Night Football. Then you have the Bucs at home, the Broncos on Thursday night, and then the Chargers on the road. I wonder if the Saints fans will make the trip out to LA to take over SoFi Stadium.
I doubt it.
Yeah, doesn't seem like one of the teams.
This is an interesting one. Obviously, at Chiefs, super tough, but Bucs at home. Even though we are a little higher than market, probably on the Bucs, that's winnable. Broncos on a short week again. I'm the lone Broncos stan in the market, but. And then you get long rest going at Chargers. I don't know. This is interesting. Maybe I could talk myself into 2-2. What are you doing, Kramer?
So I'm fairly I don't think they're gonna. I think they're gonna win the games they can win, and maybe they steal 1 or 2. I have no idea. Like I'm kind of out on the Chargers. I feel bad about it, but poor Chargers.
Our poor buddy Justin.
The 2 Chargers fans out there.
San Diego Superchargers, charge.
I'll say they go on. They get hot here. They go. They lose the Chiefs and then go 3-0. So got them.
Okay,
3-1.
I'm still going 2-2. I think, as simple as it sounds, they might win the games they're favored and lose these road games where they're dogs. I think. And maybe they beat the Chargers, but then slip up either against the Bucs or the Broncos. I think. I mean, we didn't even mention Sean Payton revenge game, Thursday Night Football. I think if there's anyone who knows how to outsmart Dennis Allen, which who knows how tough that is, I think it is Sean Payton.
Easy has him going 1-7 through 8, and Japan in the chat is 0-8. So the chat is Japan has him going 0-7.
You know what? I'm going to go 1-3. I'm going to go 1-3. Shout out to you, Japan. So I'm going to have them 2-6 through the first 8 because I do think they mess up. Yeah, I'm going to go 1-3.
Sean, that's huge. Japan heard you making fun of Canada and decided to check out the program.
I'm healing nations by making fun of other nations. Chris, what do you got here? You're sitting on 1-3. There are some winnable games here, but obviously at Chiefs tough. What do you think of this next quadrant?
This is probably 2-2 for me, but this is like I feel like this is like Dennis Allen's crucible a little bit. Like you have to win some games here, right? Obviously Chiefs really tough, probably not going to happen, but they do have a very formidable defense. I mean, a lot of talent. Their secondary is deep. They still got a great linebacking crew. Willie Gay is there now, who's a younger guy by Demario Davis. Defensive line, I would say, is improving. Chase Young is looking good. So they got some vulnerable offenses that they're going to face here, right? Like the Broncos, I'm going to want to take Sean Payton in that circumstance, especially if the Saints are favorites. I mean, that might be like a look ahead bet for me on the spread. But when you talk about a team like going up against the Chargers, Justin Herbert, not as many options this year. They have a deep secondary. Like that's a game where I can see the defense saving them. But if they don't go 2-2 here, guys, we might be talking about Dennis Allen on the hot seat here because you got to win some of these games. Like you probably have to beat the Bucks and the Broncos. I think the Bucks probably take a step back as well. And like we said, right, you're 1-4 probably at this point when you're meeting Tampa Bay. So like it's now or never. If they get to like 2-7 after this or 2-8, whatever, it's not looking good for Dennis Allen. No. But I would say 2-2 is where I lean. But it's even 2-2 is tough with the Broncos there on Thursday.
Yeah. So all right, we'll put you down 2-2, 3-5 so far. I'm 2-6. Kramer, Saints fan at 4-4.
Yeah, no, I agree that the floor is low. Yeah. I think the floor is that the coach gets fired. Maybe
Spencer, see what we got in Spencer Rattler. They're dying to move on from Derek Carr,
but he's the guy for now. Until things go bad, then he usually. It's funny how he goes from being a great leader to just completely absent at the drop of a hat. All right, week 9, second of a back-to-back, coming home from LA, going to Carolina. It doesn't matter. Then we got Falcons at home, Browns at home, bye week. Rams at home. So a little bit of a stretch where they don't have to leave New Orleans. I think you certainly have some tougher teams coming to town. They start by going 2-0 in the division, which means, Sean, I have them basically winning 5 straight. Toast to the town.
I will bet against that.
In my scenario, they have not fired Dennis Allen yet. Clint Kubiak has not taken over the job. I mean, it feels like the Rams could come in and sneak them, but I have the Rams not doing well. Deshaun Watson coming to New Orleans. No, thank you. Not interested in that.
I'm not touching Deshaun Watson.
Road spot there. I'll go 3-1.
3-1.
Yeah.
And even as a hater, I think I could look at this schedule and maybe get to 3-1 as well, especially with that bye thrown in there. I mean, I do worry about the Browns defensive line. I mean, Myles Garrett against this Saints offensive line, I think he could really wreck some shop. And even though Rams don't have Aaron Donald, I am kind of high on their young core. Your Kobe Turners of the world.
You're like one of these media guys who hung out with Sean McVay, and you're all in on the Rams.
Like they won me over. Running a great camp. I think 2-2 at the very least, but yeah, I'll go 2-2 because I'm still suspect of a team like the Rams. Update on Japan: he has them 0-12. He says he lives in Mississippi, I think, and gets a lot of local New Orleans sports radio. And apparently, they're very down on the team and the franchise right now. So I'll go 2-2. I see the case for 3-1, but Chris, how do you see this block?
So wait, is that the entire country of Japan is anticipating 0-12? What is it?
Yeah, who knows? Maybe he's an ambassador. Maybe he's just a guy with the YouTube name Japan.
I think it might be pronounced Yappin.
Okay. I don't know. How do you get that username, Japan?
It's pretty
Yeah,
sick.
Yeah. Shout
that's
out to you.
impressive. Yeah, I'm going 2-2 here. I have a little more faith in the Rams. I think they'll figure things out. I know they got
Yeah.
some injuries already in training camp, but you probably still have the best passer in the NFC on that team. Sorry, Sean, Jalen.
Oh, how dare you?
But I do think that they get two division wins here. I think they get the Falcons at home, kind of in panic mode here, probably a little bit too. They get the Panthers again. I don't believe in the Panthers yet. But the Browns are kind of like the Saints. The Browns are a tough team to figure out, but I still think the Browns are a better team overall than the Saints. So we'll go 2-2.
So Chris has him 5-7. I got him 4-8. Kramer 7-5. 5-7 feels about right. I'm maybe erring on a little bit of the hatery side, but I think I gotta factor in like there is a really low floor for this team. I think.
In some ways,
Yeah.
I think the floor. I think that involves a coach getting fired,
Which I think is possible.
As bad as the offensive stuff was last year, there is still like the relic of stability left behind from Sean Payton, and Dennis Allen seems to be doing that okay, or at least they're covering it up.
I just feel like year 3 of Dennis Allen, if it's clear they're not going to be in the playoffs, and if it's clear Carr isn't the guy, that switch to hit of blow this whole thing up.
Oh,
I
you
think
mean
will
the
be
team
tempting.
that has kept not blowing it up every year? The family that it seems to just want to compete. Like they do want to compete. And you want to talk about an organization that's covered some things up in the past. Definitely don't Google New Orleans Saints and the church.
They've had a lot of scandals.
Don't look into that one.
All right, Kramer. Last 5, make it or break it. You're right. You only need one more win to get them over. Get them to the over.
All right. At Giants, is this a Tommy DeVito revenge spot? At Giants, Commanders at home, at Packers on Monday night.
Oh,
football.
tough spot. Lambeau
outside.
in December for a dome team.
Honestly, the Giants trip too, not optimal for a dome team to making either of those trips. Then Raiders coming to their house and at Bucks to close it out. I told you I was going to chop and that one could be a meaningful game for the Bucks there. But I told you I would chop the divisional game, so that's got to be a loss for me. Certainly, I don't mind taking them against the Commanders and the Raiders. So that's 2 wins right there, and I'll give them road losses. So 2-3.
2-3. So right back where they started, 9-8.
Sounds about right.
I'll even
maybe 8-9.
I'll even err on slight optimism. Maybe the interim head coach, maybe Kubiak gets a chance at the reins. Maybe we're seeing some Spencer Rattler, scampering around, those classic like running quarterback where you're like, well, this isn't going to work long term, but then they win like a couple games early and you're like, what? This can't work. And then eventually they hit the wall. I can see Spencer Rattler scampering around, surprising a couple teams late. So I'll even be optimistic. My first winning quadrant for the Saints. I'll give them 3-2, nipping at the heels of the win total, but not getting over. 7-10 feels very Saintsian for me. Chris, how do you have the final 5 shaken out?
I got one win between the Giants and Commanders. Who knows which? I mean, Giants is 1 point underdogs to the Saints. Tells you everything you need to know about the Giants season. It's probably going to be a game where like Taysom Hill gets like 245 yards. Like it's just like it's gonna be like a highlight reel game for Taysom Hill.
Yeah, just runs the wing tee. Yeah, we talked about Spencer Rattler. We haven't talked about Taysom Hill coming in as a quarterback and leading the league.
Yeah, plays like every other position on offense. But I got 2 wins here. This is why I'm at 7. This is why I would have to wait until week 5 because I think they beat one of those 2 NFC East teams and then they beat the Raiders. But the Bucks probably get them at the end of the year. The Packers, I don't think the Saints team is going to have a chance against where the Packers are headed. So I got to say though, the Commanders is 3-point underdogs. I think the Commanders are going to be a pretty fun team this year. I see a lot of change there for the positive. So. I think the Commanders could win that game straight up. Like look ahead lines, kind of hard to fire on that now, but Commanders +3, probably give me that week 15 if it's staying there.
You know what? This is a great case. One of the Commanders or the Raiders will be good enough to maybe beat the Saints down the stretch. 1-4.
1-4. Wow. Okay, so you still have them going over at 8-9.
Perfect.
And so, Chris, what was your final tally here on these last 5? It seems like
2-3.
2-3, right?
2-3, yeah, 7 wins total.
7-10. So
no, but and
we're under. Kramer's over. Makes
and,
about sense.
And circle the. I completely agree with the take that you wait until after they lose week 5, and you then decide. Well, what's the updated win total, please? And probably, I mean, what? And this is one of those times too where we see this all the time with futures odds and playoff scenarios where the thing happens that was expected to happen, and yet the price changes due to perception. And so they go through a stretch of 5 games where they're laying points in one. They're dogs of 3 or more in the other 4. And the when you come out of that 1 and 4, and almost certainly the win total will be discounted to where it is now. Almost certainly.
Yeah. I mean, assuming the team is intact after week 5, you might get a decent number on the win total on and maybe even division if you're crazy. Cause the second half of the schedule obviously is way easier after that point.
Yeah. And I realize it may have sounded like Sean and I picked them to lose to the Cowboys earlier in the schedule.
Yeah.
I would go back and re-listen. Your ears failed you.
No, that's why we do quadrants, Ryan. We're not going to assign directly any wins to the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And
0-17.
Yeah, I mean, I have them 1-3. Their one win is against the Cowboys. I didn't reveal that, but I will now. That's their only win in those first 4. All right. Hey, we'll get to our best bets before we do. Shout out to Rhythm. Love locking in on Rhythm, especially now they got the college model up, the NFL model up, and if you've never used a betting model, you can build your own with Rhythm. It's really cool. You can select the stats, the trends that you find important, build a model off those, and it'll give you all the back tested data and show you if you're on the right path to putting together a nice model, or if you're like, hey, that's too much work, just give me some winners. AI backed winners. Rhythm has you covered there as well, as you can use their model. And again, college, NFL, they don't have the props stuff up yet, but I think we can plan on getting those up pretty soon. But again, a bunch of college totals already on the sheet. And again, get your 7-day free trial. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm, the place for AI sports picks and props, and as well as game time. Ryan, Phillies play the Dodgers. Am I going to go to the game tonight? I don't know. We'll have to see what they got going on game time, because game time is your go-to app for last minute tickets. And I'm using that promo code SGPN. I already used it, but if you're listening, you're like, hey, maybe I'm in the LA area. I want to go see the Phillies take care of the Dodgers. Use the promo code SGPN, get you $20 off. As we highlighted earlier, the preseason football tickets are comically low. It's a great take your kids out to a game, easy way to not spend a bunch of money, go to a preseason game, and you get $20 off. You get the experience, get to see some of the young rookies out there. GameTime.co, promo code SGPN, or download the Game Time app. Make sure you use that promo code SGPN for $20 off. Okay,
all right,
Kramer.
Yes.
So you have, I have
my
you
bad.
officially on the Saints over 7.5 wins.
Yeah, if I was forced to take a side, if I was drawing the curve, there's probably less of the distribution over, but that's where I landed, so I'll stick to it.
Now, what else you like on the positive side or slightly positive side? What are you doing?
I think if the offense does well, Alvin Kamara is a big part of it. I also think Chris Olave has got to be a big part of it. And so there's no competition for targets. It's hard to see him not end up with like a 25 to 30% target share.
Yeah.
So that's right to the division yardage markets to see that he's a dog to, a guy like Drake London. So it's Mike Evans plus 200, Drake London plus 210. I could make the argument. We made the argument that maybe Mike Evans is a better bet for touchdowns in these types of markets, and Drake London, again, pretty big leap of faith here.
Yeah,
that he's just going to walk in and be chalk, and for Chris Olave to be down at plus 370. None of the other guys in this division to me are locked in for the target share that he is, even Drake London. So you can put me down for that. And then also,
and that was yards, right?
Most yards. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. For the NFC
receptions
South,
would almost be a better one if these cowards would open that market. The other one I would point out is that the Kubiaks tend to have running backs that put up a number of yards.
Okay.
Alvin Kamara is 14-1 in the divisional market, Sean, and listen to Bijan Robinson -145. Guys, they're talking about Tyler Algier in camp again. I don't want to alarm anyone. Rashad White, who there's a million cases to be made, whether it's Bucky Irving or his inefficiency or Canales leaving. And then Sean, listen to this one: Jonathan Brooks 4-1. Kamara 14-1. I get it. He catches a lot of passes, but this, if this works, if the guys they brought in on the line, it clicks and they're able to roll this out, you could absolutely see Kamara in this system, like with his vision, just racking up yards. So those are the two kind of optimistic cases to me. I didn't want to go full league stuff because I don't think the Saints have the offense to compete on a league level, but within their division, love it.
All right, for me, again, I'm on the under.
Are you smashing the under?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I feel like even there were a couple of cases where I was like, all right, don't be too much of a hater. But
you are a man of the chat, and the chat seems very under.
Oh, chat is swaying me towards get the grave digging tools out. I do like your Alvin Kamara most rush yards in the NFC South. I'll take a small sprinkle on that. 14-1. Dennis Allen, first coach fired.
Ooh, what's that price?
It's tough to find the updated odds, anywhere from like 5 to 8 to 1.
Oh,
we'll call it 7 to 1.
Is McCarthy still the chalk in that market? I assumed.
I don't know. I'll pull that up again. Because
it's like every year, the Humpty Dumpty over here, waiting to fall off the wall and get glued back together.
Salah is actually the favorite. Then
no way.
Yeah, Eberflew is plus 450, which that is crazy. They're not gonna bail that early. Like him getting fired if Caleb Williams isn't awesome, sure, but they're not gonna fire midseason.
Bears don't do business like that.
Mike McCarthy is right up there at plus 450, which is hilarious because he continues to be 12-5, 12-5. He's not going to be fired mid-season.
They don't do that either. Yeah.
No. And then Brian Daboll's after him, which as much as I'm not high on the Giants, I don't think they will fire him.
You realize how long they let Joe Judge go? They're not gonna pull the trigger fast.
They like Brian Daboll. He lost some weight. He's got a cool shaved head. They're gonna give him a long leash. I do think Saints have a low floor. So Saints fewest wins at 25-1.
Yikes.
Again, if we're looking at a couple sprinkles here, I mean, if this team was 4-13, I would not be shocked by any means. Cause I think the case for building it right, and even Kramer came in as the optimist, so he had him at 8-9. I mean, am I wrong? Like there does feel like a 3-win floor for this team, and I'm just really out on Dennis Allen, Derek Carr. So those are some fun ways to fade them. Although again, the Kamara I think is kind of undervalued right now in like fantasy best ball, especially if Kendre Miller isn't going to do anything to steal away those touches and carries. Chris, I got you down for under 7.5 wins, and Saints win 1 exactly in the first 5 at plus 225.
That's a great bet.
That's a fun bet, and of course
I like the Saints.
And it'll only be the Cowboys that they beat. But Chris, what any other Saints futures you want to get down on?
Yeah, I mean, I would say also the same thing for the division, right? Like after those 5 games, I mean, right now it's already at plus 340. But this is a winnable division for any team, right? I mean, you can go 8-9, you could win this division. And all that would take theoretically, by what a few of us said in their win total, is like 1 upset win, right? So maybe after week 5 you look at that as well. But completely agree with what Kramer said about Chris Olave. I don't know if it's just 2 guys, fans of 4-time Super Bowl winning teams. I don't know what it is, Kramer, but you're thinking like reference. Me. You're thinking like me here, and Chris Olave, I just think is going to stand out so enormously. I mean, who else are they going to throw to? Right? There's no more Jimmy Graham, thank God. There's no more Michael Thomas. Alvin Kamara, I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not even sure how good Alvin Kamara is at this point. There's just, I don't know. It's just kind of getting weird for me. Chris Olave put on a few pounds of muscle. Spencer Rattler is already soaring about him. Like if Spencer somehow becomes the quarterback, like it's not like Derek Carr is like a true like franchise quarterback who every coach trusts, right?
On.
Like like we could see him maybe being spit out of that roster as well. So I mean, Spencer's going to go up high to him. I think it's a quicker offense, and so I got Chris Olave to snag 12 touchdown passes or more this season. Now he had 5 last season. Okay. So it's not like he's gotten anywhere close to that, but I just think he's going to be even more featured. That's plus 1,300 is what I'm seeing out there. That's pretty
So
good value
that's
for
it's 12 receiving touchdowns at plus 1300.
12 receiving touchdowns. Yeah.
Okay,
I
I
know
like
that.
that.
And I'll say this too. I just wish there were more bets on Taysom Hill because what I'm seeing
Those
from
cowards won't list them.
the team reports from camp are saying that they're going to put Taysom Hill at running back, fullback,
Yes.
tight end, and wide receiver. Like this guy is going to be a modern day Jim Thorpe for real. So I would just love a little more bets on him. But lastly, I'll just mention because I know you guys like a far fetching bet, but Saints plus 9,000 to be the highest scoring team. Look, they were top 10 last season somehow. Somehow they were top 10. Even with how crappy their offense looked. So if it all comes together, like, or maybe Spencer Rattler comes in the lineup, like who knows, guys? Maybe we got something brewing here. Probably not, but that's a pretty damn good number.
Yeah, for 90-1, even as a guy who's out on the Saints, 90-1, and yeah, I like that Olave adjusted touchdowns. That's a fun one.
Chris Olave even last year, not a great season to remember. He still averaged 8.6 targets.
Yeah,
like if that, it's I don't know. I like that points angle. I looked at their point total, thought about bringing it in, but I'll play the player markets because I feel like those markets can hit too. The Olave bets can hit like both cases, good and bad.
Kramer, what do you like on the underdog season long market?
Again, not to be one to walk into a restaurant and critique another person's menu, but we could do better. I guess I'll just double dip on Olave. It seems like the simplest angle. The touchdowns number is so low.
Yeah.
Again, who else other than, and I think the way we play Taysom Hill, by the way, is we just hammer the anytime every week.
Yeah.
Just because where are they going to start that at? 3-1?
You think
250?
So? I don't know.
2-1?
I feel like there was a point where the market was on to the Taysom Hill stuff, and like it was. I feel like he got down to like plus 150 anytime. I could be wrong.
To start the season, you have all these fantasy nerds who are going to be like, he's a quarterback again. Dang, I can't. and then it's gonna be like, plus 275, and like bang, he's gonna have some weird. It's gonna be
he very well could be their goal line.
Here's my prediction: Taysom Hill has the first kickoff return for a touchdown with the new kickoff rule.
Oh,
that's my prediction. Because why wouldn't you have him and do that?
Yeah. Well,
it's a football
sort of
play.
like
get the ball in a football player's hands.
Where he like fakes a double pass or something and then runs with it.
Oh yeah, get some rugby like
this new return rule is. I mean, Sean Payton may trade for, him. By the time
Hester's coming back.
Hester 2.0, and it's Taysom Hill.
Oh, I love it.
So and Kamara, I don't even want to touch his rushing touchdowns because I'm worried about the Taysom Hill vulturing. I will go. To your point, Ryan. I do think his volume is going to be there. His rush total is only 650.5. So I'll take the Alvin Kamara.
Well, the touchdowns are scary too, not just because of Taysom Hill. They also have a vulture named Jamal Williams. They also have a vulture named Juwan Johnson. Yeah,
I think there's a bunch of other ways. So I'll take Alvin Kamara higher, 650.5 rushing yards. What about you, Chris? Anything on the underdog season long market jumping out at you here?
I was actually looking at Alvin Kamara under in that situation. I think this is gonna.
Really?
I think this is gonna turn into a passing team. I don't know if that's what Clinton wants to do, but I don't know how effective that offensive line is gonna be. I know they drafted first round. What's his name? Tylese Fuaga. I'm sure he's a good addition for them, but I just don't trust Alvin at this point. He might have been a product of the Sean Payton offense, kind of bringing out everything that they could with him, and obviously the Drew Brees factor in there too kind of loosens up the running back. But I don't believe in him. But Chris Olave over in touchdowns and yards, sign me up.
All right. You guys talk
Sean,
me into it. I'll switch it to Olave higher. I didn't love the
2 years in the NFL. Year one, he had 1,042 and 4 touchdowns. Last year, he had 1,123 and 5 touchdowns. In what most people were calling a horribly organized offense.
Over 1,000 yards with Andy Dalton.
Yeah, things get a little cleaner here.
Yeah, no, the Chris Olave ceiling is pretty high.
And if you are in the fantasy streets, when you get to the end of that second round, and there's a bunch of guys who you're like, I don't really want to take that guy. Just remember, Chris Olave is getting 30% of the target share for that team, and Malik Neighbors.
And he has a high ceiling. Before we let you go, Chris, and lock up our best bets, we alluded to you as a Giants fan. Where are you at with your New York Football Giants this season? Do you got your Daniel Jones jersey out? What's your take? How do you see it shaking out? Maybe any plays you like?
I like the beard on Daniel Jones. I'll start by saying that it's kind of fierce. Yeah, it's like a more mature. But I'll say this for the Giants. I mean, I'm not going to claim that they're going to do anything great in the NFC East even this season, but I do think that the Giants could be more like 2 years ago, where they were good ATS, right? Like they were a much more competitive team. I mean, apparently all the Giants need is an elite front seven, a defensive line. And we go to the Super Bowl, right? And I think the Giants could really have that this season, like a top 5 defensive front who gets to the quarterback a lot. If Malik Neighbors can do what I think he can, I mean, I think he's a special player, guys. I mean, truly, just everything kind of jumping off the screen for him. And Daniel Jones knows. How could Daniel Jones not know that he needs to air the ball out a little bit more, like that, like stretch the field, Dan? So. I think his career is riding on it, quite frankly, and now he has a wide receiver that can stretch that field for him. And it's not like they don't have other talent surrounding Malik Neighbors. So other guys are going to be open. I'm not worried about us losing Saquon. Who's worried about that? Not me. Yeah, I would lean over actually on the Giants win total. I think they're going to surprise some teams. I don't think that they compete with Dallas and Philly ultimately, but I think this is a team that we're just going to feel a little better about after this season, even though it's not going to result in much.
Sean, if you have not already seen the video of the combo practice with the Lions, last year the Giants got their ass kicked during this session. This year, a little bit different. Key takeaways: they have a right tackle who's actually holding up. Their defensive line is actually dominating the Lions offensive line, which is very good. And specifically Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence apparently are not being blocked. But lastly, Malik Neighbors is not letting the ball hit the ground. He is dominating. Granted, the Lions, Easy will tell you, the Lions secondary sucks, but he's dominant. He's a rookie. He's a guy that you said Cortland Sutton was better than. And he's going to be one of the most. I mean, Sean, my offensive player of the year plus 270, 27,500 ticket from the Circa. That's get rich money. I love the optimism. Don't worry, I'm fired up about the Giants.
Yeah, I haven't heard any positive stuff about Malik Neighbors.
Did you see him starting a fight? Offensive lineman's getting held down, and Dan Jones comes over.
There's some fight in this team.
I love it. Love it.
All right, let's close out. Recap some of the best bets. Kramer's got him 8 and 9. I got him 7 and 10. Chris has him 7 and 10. Again, using the photo of the giant check. Again, sign up Circuit Sports, Circa Millions. Come out, say hi. Chris likes the lower. Alvin Kamara talked me out of my higher. I do like Chris Olave higher.
It's a really friends don't let friends moment right there.
Well, the long shot stuff on him is probably the more fun way to play it than necessarily just his higher lower.
Play the rushing yards in the division if you want to play a ceiling case for Kamara. Everything else, Olave.
And Kramer with a good Olave lead the NFC South yards. I got Dennis Allen on the hot seat and Saints fewest wins. That's in the mix. Chris likes him to only have 1 win in the first 5 games. Nice plus 225 there. And Chris Olave 12 receiving touchdowns, which is certainly doable for a young guy kind of making a leap here year 2, year 3. Even if the quarterback play isn't amazing, he's going to get the touches. He's going to get the volume and the targets.
I will say I've seen some fun like season long parlays with those types of 12 touchdown bets, like the alt numbers, like get up the ladder a couple rungs. It's pretty easy to get a nice multiplier in there. You put 4 or 5 of those together. Hello.
Come say hello. Bet Bash Thursday afternoon. If you're out over there, we will be doing a preseason NFL picks on top of our team previews. So stay tuned for that. Chris, awesome time having you on. Make sure you give him a follow on X at Farley Bets. What else you got going on? Where can people check you out?
Farley Bets as usual. Hopefully on the Bet US show with you again. Next season, Sean, and hey, I'll be in Vegas in 2 weeks, so hopefully I catch you guys over there as well.
Yes. Yeah. We'll get you on the VSiN show because you're going to be out there for that contest weekend, right?
Yes, sir. Contest weekend. Forget about Bet Bash. Contest weekend is where the real
Contest
killers.
weekend is super fun. There's a bunch of open bar events. You get in all your futures. You sign up for the contest. You get a Circa
handshake with me.
Handshake with Kramer.
I'm looking forward to a hug personally.
Oh yeah, see, you're in. That's fine. If someone, I will give free upgrade hugs.
All right, only for the patrons. All right.
Thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
For the Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean, stacking the money green. He's Ryan.
Saints are competing this year, Sean.
Kramer, let it ride.